All right, let's talk about one of the most confusing parts of English grammar, conditionals. It's a topic that trips up so many people. But what if I told you there's a way to simplify it, like way down to just two key ideas? Stick around, because we're about to make this a whole lot easier. So, be honest for a second. Have you ever felt your brain just tie itself in knots trying to remember the difference between zero, first, second, and third conditionals? Yeah, if you have, you are definitely not alone. And you know what? There's a really good reason for all that confusion. Most grammar books just throw all of these different types at you at the same time, and it's basically a recipe for information overload. But what if there's a much simpler way to think about it? That's right, just two. When it comes to real, actual, everyday communication, whether you're at work or just chatting with friends, you really only need to get a handle on two of them. Just two. You master these and you'll be set for like 99% of the situations you'll ever run into. Okay, so let's dive in. The two conditionals that are going to give you the most bang for your buck, the most confidence, are the zero conditional and the first conditional. We're going to break them down one by one. So, the most important thing to get your head around is the meaning behind them. Look here. On the left, you've got the zero conditional. This is for facts. Think of it for things that are always true, like scientific rules or just your own personal routines. Then on the right, you've got the first conditional. This one's all about real possibilities in the future and what's probably going to happen because of them. First up, let's get you feeling totally confident with the zero conditional. This is going to be your go-to for explaining anything that works like clockwork. So, the job of the zero conditional is super specific. It states a cause and an effect that is basically a general truth. I like to call it the "this always happens" conditional. It's not about some one-time future event. It's about a constant, totally reliable reality. And check out how beautifully simple the grammar is. The if part uses the present simple tense, and then the main part, the result, also uses the present simple. Simple plus simple. It really doesn't get much more straightforward than that, does it? This is a perfect example of how it works for systems. If you press this button, the system starts. See? This isn't a guess about the future. It's just a statement of fact. It's a rule of how the system works, every single time. And it works just as well for personal routines. This sentence isn't about one specific day I might work late. Nope. It's a general truth about a routine. For this person, working late always results in feeling tired. Again, notice that structure. Present simple, present simple. Easy. Okay, let's move on to our second essential tool and see how it builds on this. The first conditional. This one is all about looking ahead to what might actually happen. Right. This is your go-to for planning, making predictions, and talking about things that could happen in the future. The key word to remember here is possibility. We're not talking about something that's always true anymore, but something that could realistically happen. Now, let's look at the structure. See something familiar? The if part stays in the present simple, just like our friend the zero conditional. But here's the little twist. The main clause, the result, now uses will plus the verb. That will is what points to a future outcome. Here's a perfect example you'd hear at work. Finishing the report. That's a real possibility for the future, right? And if that happens, the likely result is that we will send it today. Here's another classic. It might rain, it might not. We don't know for sure. But if it rains, if that condition happens, the plan, the result, is that we will work from home. This isn't some general rule. It's a specific plan for a possible future event. Okay, so we've got our two tools, zero and first. But the real question is, how do you pick the right one in the middle of a conversation without, freezing up? It all comes down to this one simple question. Just ask yourself, is this thing I'm talking about always true, or is it a possible situation in the future? If the answer is always true, a rule or a fact, boom, you use the zero conditional. If it's a real future situation, a possibility, you use the first conditional. It's really that simple. Now, before we wrap up, let's talk about the number one most common mistake people make. Seriously, if you can just remember this one little rule, you'll avoid so much confusion. No matter what, you never, ever put will in the if part of the sentence. Take a look at this sentence on the screen. If we will finish early, we will leave. That first part, if we will finish, does that sound a little off to you? It probably should. That will right there is the mistake we want to get rid of. And here's the super easy fix. Just take it out. The if part of the sentence always uses the present simple. So, if we finish, not if we will finish. Just burn that into your brain and you'll sidestep the most common error there is. So, let's recap everything. What does this simplified approach actually give you? Because this isn't about passing a grammar test. This is about giving you real confidence when you're actually speaking. By focusing on just the zero and first conditionals, you now have the tools you need to handle most everyday situations with total ease. You can explain rules, you can describe future plans, and best of all, you can stop worrying about all those other complicated forms. You get to focus on what you're trying to say, on your meaning, not on a bunch of grammar labels. And that brings us to the end. So, here's a little challenge for you. Think about a rule at your job, or a system you use, or even just a simple personal routine. How would you explain it now using that zero conditional? Go on, give it a try. Thanks so much for tuning in.